known you if I wouldn't have come. How long you been retired? How many years?
What year was it? I graduated in '84.
How many years?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the induction, the 29th annual induction ceremony of the class of 2018 of the Midland County Sports Hall of Fame. I am Jerry O'Donnell, pleased to be your MC here tonight. Thank you very much for being here in attendance, and I do have some housekeeping items to take care of. First of all, our restrooms are right over here in the center portion of the lobby. Tonight's ceremony will be broadcast on MCTV. Give them a couple of weeks to edit it and put it together. It will also be available online on demand for those of you who don't live in Midland, so you'll be able to find that on the MCTV website. Also, many of you know Marcy Post, who's a member of this organization. She has an excused absence tonight. We're not allowed for HIPAA reasons to tell you why, but she may actually be working very, very hard right now. Her job was about 30 minutes, every 30 minutes earlier today, is that right? All right, so we don't have an update for you, there, but stay tuned. There may be a message tweeted out from Marcy later on tonight, but she does have an excused absence. And before we add to the ranks of the elite here in Midland County, I'd like to recognize many current Hall of Fame members in attendance here tonight. So if you are a member of the Hall of Fame in classes 2017 or earlier, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hall of Fame members in attendance here tonight, congratulations and thank you for joining us once again. And we'll get things right underway. If you would please, as your name is mentioned, come up on stage and get your award. And in the case of our first honorees, you'll be represented by your coach. The 2002 Southtown 11-12-year-old All-Star softball team became the first Little League 11 and 12-year-old team from Midland County to win a state championship. And I understand they remain the only girls team ever to do so. Southtown had not allowed a hit in any of their state tournament games before the championship contest versus West Portage. Down 4-0 in the bottom of the fifth, Southtown rallied for 4 two-out runs. They then put West Portage down 1-2-3 in the seventh, and as a very big crowd witnessed on that hot July afternoon in 2002, home team Southtown, with runners on second and third, walked off with a two-out single. Ladies and gentlemen, here to accept their nomination into the Midland Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2018, on behalf of the 11 and 12-year-old 2002 Southtown All-Star softball team. Got it mostly in the right order there. Please welcome their head coach, Mark Jungle.
Okay, you threw me off the order. I'd like the girls and Brian Birch and Joe Lang to come up, my two coaches. You guys can stand. Stand back here. Yeah, true. First of all, I'd like to thank the Midland Amateur Sports Capital Committee for everything you do with this Hall of Fame and the stuff you do behind the scenes. I know there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. This group was special. I'll give you a little bit of background. Very tight-knit group of girls. Chemistry was a huge thing with me when I coach, and these girls got along great. And I truly believe it had a lot to do with our championship. When they were 10, we won the district, and we went to the state tournament up in Gladstone. And when we got up there, there was one team that stuck out far above everybody else, and that was West Portage. It was almost like we all felt we were fighting for second, and that was the case. West Portage rolled through the state tournament, and so looking ahead to 2002, which we knew we were hosting the state tournament, so that was special. We had a lot of work to do to get ready for that. We knew one team we would have to go through was West Portage. So 2002 came around, and we had signups for Little League, and we had only 25 girls in all of our majors, girls, sign up. And so we got together and we said, we have to have 3 teams. So we had literally 3 teams, 2 with 8 and 1 with 9. And anybody who knows ball knows you need 9 to play. But we decided to truly have teams with 8 to give more kids opportunities to play at more positions. And we would borrow an outfielder from the other team when they were in the field, and it worked out great. I need to mention 5 other gentlemen. I am the guy who had the title of manager, but honestly, Joe Lang and Brian Birch, who were my coaches, and Charlie Schwedler, and John Church, and Steve Hagel all could have had that title. They all worked with these girls just as much as I did. They pitched batting practice. They sat on buckets and caught pitchers. They hit ground balls. I just was the one that ended up with the title manager. So 2002 rolled around, and we got through the district tournament, and then the state tournament came around. And all 3 of our first games of the state tournament, we were behind. Came back and won. So Thursday night, the 25th of 2002, I'll never forget that day. We played West Portage. And like Jerry mentioned, we fell behind 4-0 going to the bottom of the 5th with 2 outs. Nobody on. And we strung together a couple hits, an error, a walk, and then it was 4-2, and then Rachel Church stepped to the plate and drilled one over the center fielder's head, and all of a sudden it was 4-4. It went from 4-0 to 4-4 in 5 minutes, and the place erupted. It was an incredible environment. Southtown supported us like you can't believe, and we went to the 6th, tied with a team that was so heavily favored that they were so confident. They showed up with shirts on that said, Oregon or bust. To put things in perspective, the Little League Girls World Series is in Portland, Oregon. That would be like a boys team showing up and saying Williamsport or bust. So we went to the bottom of the 6th. We went to the top of the 6th, and we got them out 1-2-3. Bottom of the 6th came around. Becca Birch, Sarah Schwedler worked 2 great at-bats for walks. And finally, with 2 outs, runners on 2nd and 3rd, Jess Chatterton steps to the plate. And I've coached 37 years, and if I had to pick a kid to put at that position at that time, it might very well still be Jess. And the first pitch, she drilled a single to right field, and we won. A few little other tidbits with this team is after we were done and we had won, I had not mentioned to any of our parents about what if, because we were hoping, but really we didn't think it was that possible. Plus, I think my coaches would have killed me if I would have started talking about what's ahead. So after the game, we had a team meeting, and I said, well, we have 36 hours to be on the road to go to Joplin, Missouri, 900 miles away, to play in regionals next week, all week long. And we had over 80 people from Southtown go to Joplin, Missouri to support us there. And the community got behind us financially like you can't believe. I can't believe how well they supported us. tell one story about when we were there. We stayed in the same hotel as the team from Ohio, and we played them in pool play, and they beat us, unfortunately. But after the game was, when we were leaving the hotel, I saw them in a conference room. I thought they were having a little pregame meeting. Well, after the game was over, the coaches came up to me and said, well, I have to admit, we had a little extra incentive. I said, what was that? He said, Jim Tressel, the head coach at Ohio State at the time, had called our girls, and he was on speakerphone, telling the girls the importance of never, ever losing to a team from Michigan. I don't know where Lloyd Carr was when I needed him. But the coaches also did say that it didn't mean too much to the girls, but the coaches left that meeting really fired up. What I'm most proud about these girls is what they have done after they've grown up. They are all great women now who have done great things, have families and great jobs, and they're just doing great things with their lives, and I'm so, so proud of them. I would like to introduce them one at a time, and you guys can just raise your hand or step out. I'm going to try to get these names right. This getting married stuff has really messed me up. Unfortunately, 3 of them couldn't be here tonight. Renee Lang Klein, Clara Jungle King, and Sarah Klingler had other commitments tonight, but we have 9, so we can field a team. First, Sarah Bober. Becca Birch. Jessica Chatterton. Jennifer Chatterton Kennedy. Sarah Schwedler Fogel. Allison Hagel. Angela Bradshaw Hillebrand. Rachel Church Mosini. And Heather Colomer Rowe Yeager. Thank you very much.
You know, they say that your resume should fill 1 page and you should be able to limit it to 1 page. Well, Mark Jungle's 30-year coaching resume has long since outgrown a single page. A 1982 graduate of Bullitt Creek High School, Jungle played 4 years of basketball, baseball, and golf. In 1985, Mark managed the 11 and 12 All-Star baseball team to a District 1 championship. 2002, the 11 and 12 All-Star softball state championship, as you heard. Mark has coached dozens of Bullitt Creek area youth basketball teams, including 13 years as an AAU basketball coach with Midland Fast Break, where he coached teams to 4 state championships and 3 runner-up titles. Mark has coached multiple Miss Basketball and runner-up Miss Basketball honorees. In 2003, Mark was one of the founders of the Lancer Turkey Classic Basketball Tournament, which has grown from the inaugural 16 to a present 80-team event. In 2013, Mark was recipient of the 33rd Annual Lloyd Osborne Award for his service to youth sports and the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Mark Jungle.
Sorry you have to listen to me again. This is an incredible honor for me. The 2002 team, I felt for many years they deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I personally it was never on my radar. So this is truly a great honor. First thing I'd like to do is congratulate the other inductees. Kay, years and years, decades really, of service as an official and as a coach. You coached games that I played in. I think you may have coached games that I coached, or you may have reffed games that I coached, and I'm a little worried you may have in my early years. I'm a real intense, competitive person, and in my young years, it was maybe over the edge. In fact, for 25 years, I coached and tried to ref at the same time. And after 25 years, I decided to put the stripes on and try to become an official, so I became a registered MHSA official. And I realized at that time what a difficult job it is, and I'm not a very good official. But I've said many times since then that I think every ref should coach, and every coach should ref at least one time to see both sides of it. Okay, thank you for your years and years of service. Jamie, congratulations. Boy, what you've done with softball in the last 35 years as a player and then a coach is amazing. Every year, I look at your teams, and they're always up there with the best. They get better as the season goes along. And then after your school season's over, you spend all your time with line drive in the travel season. What an incredible job you've done with girls and softball in this area. Thank you. John Stern, a wrestling legend at Bullock Creek. I vividly remember when my dad was an administrator at the schools, and I would go hang out with him on an afternoon or evening or on a weekend, and you'd be practicing. And I'd peek my head in the gym, and here is this intense coach on the mat with his kids or running laps with them. You did so much for that program for 25 years, and the families, and you brought so many kids into that sport. Thank you, John. Tommy Stern. Tommy and I are really good friends, and we fish a lot together. I could tell a lot of stories right now. In fact, I'll tell one. I'm really competitive. Tommy's really competitive. So when we go fishing, we always keep track of how many fish we catch. And our rule is you have to touch the fish to count it. So if you're swinging it up in the boat and it gets off, it doesn't count. We rarely net our fish because we don't take the time, but if they're big ones, we net them. So a couple years ago, we were tied. We'd been fishing for about 2 hours. I said, okay, Tommy, how about 5 more minutes? He said, okay. So right after that, I hook a fish. I'm reeling it in. Tommy says, hey, I'll net that for you. I said, oh, it's not very big, but okay, thank you. And he grabs the net, and boing, he knocked my fish off the hook. He proceeds to tell me it doesn't count, you didn't touch it. So bottom line, and that's a Tommyism, he's a really competitive guy. He'll do anything it takes to win. But also out on those times we've been fishing, Tommy and I have talked about kids and coaching and situations many times. And I can tell you that Midland High was very fortunate to have him coaching wrestling for 20 years. And I know there are dozens of men out there today that are the men they are because they had Tommy as a wrestling coach. Getting that phone call a couple months ago that I was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame forced me to do something that I really have never done before, reflect back on my 37 years of coaching. I just go on to the next game or the next season, and that's just how I've operated, but this kind of forced me to reflect back. And when I did, I realized that God put so many people in my life along the way that have had an influence on my career and truly helped me along the way, mentoring me and just leading me along the way. When I coach, I'm a huge guy with team chemistry. I really believe team chemistry is the number one thing you have to have. You can have a great team without team chemistry and they're not going to reach their full potential. But if you have great team chemistry, you can do great things. You can far exceed your expectations. A couple of my favorite quotes are, this game is about we, not me. Nobody will remember you or remember how many points you scored, but they will remember how you treated them. So tonight, as I accept this award, I want this award to be about we, not me, and all the people along my path that I share this with. And I want to mention a few of them. Unfortunately, it's impossible for me to mention everybody, but I truly want to mention a few of them. And I start with my mom and dad. When I was born, my sister's here tonight. When we were born, I say we won the lottery with parents. My mom and dad were the most supportive, loving parents somebody could ever have. Unfortunately, we lost my mom 25 years ago to cancer, and I miss her every day. My dad, at 91 years old, is here tonight. He's at many of my events. I still coach 8th grade girls basketball. And who shows up to 8th grade girls basketball games? Parents and grandparents. But my dad, I'll come out and is always sitting behind the bench, supporting me, supporting the team. I think he's somewhat concerned I may get thrown out of the game and someone's going to have to take over. But Dad, you're the most caring, loving, humble, giving person I've ever met. And I love you. You're my idol. And if I ever grow up, I hope I can be half the man you are. Next, I want to share tonight with my beautiful wife, Marnie. We started this whole thing together the same year. I started dating her my senior year. I started coaching my senior year in high school. A couple weeks ago, our youngest daughter, Mary, said, Dad, you realize you're really lucky to marry Mom. You were married up. And I say, yeah, I know. And I reflected back and I thought, well, Mary never really got to see us dating. So I took Mom on some pretty romantic dates, Mary. We usually did one of three things. I would take her down to the Southtown Little League Park and we'd watch a Little League game. Sometimes I'd buy some bubble yum or sunflower seeds for her. And that was when I was coaching or not coaching, just to watch a game. Or she got to go to a Bullock Creek 8th grade boys basketball game that I was coaching and keep my statistics. She was great at. And she'd leave comments, so I'd pick up the clipboard at halftime and see the statistics, and then she'd always have like little comments on there. If you don't start boxing out, there's no chance you'll win this game. Or the really romantic nights, we'd go back to her mom and dad's house and watch the Detroit Pistons play, and her mom would cook the best oatmeal macaroon cookies, and I would eat 90% of them. But somehow, I convinced her to marry me. And honey, you've been there for me the entire journey. When I came home some years and told you, honey, I'm coaching 2 Bullock Creek Elementary Saturday morning league teams. I'm coaching 2 community center teams. Oh yeah, we have a fast break team, and I'm still coaching at Jefferson. So there's 6 teams I'll be coaching this season. You supported me. I would coach at Jefferson, run home for dinner, and I was off to 1 or 2 more practices, and that went on for years and years. You were always there. And I love you. Thank you. The next people I want to share this with is our kids. Unfortunately, our oldest, Clara, can't be here tonight. She was one of them that should have been up here. But she is the maid of honor in a wedding tonight for one of her good friends. And after Clara found out her team was being inducted, she called Marcy about a month ago to see if they could change the date of this, which had been planned for a year. And then she checked with her friend to see if they could move the time of the wedding. But it neither worked, so she's not here, unfortunately. But my son Stephen is here, and his wife Caitlin, and our youngest granddaughter Elsie. My daughter Ellie's here, and my daughter Mary's here. And one of my greatest joys of coaching was the opportunity to coach you and your friends, and whether or not it was a Bullock Creek team or a Southtown team or a fast break team. The fun we had coaching with your friends and their parents rank right up there at the top with me. And Ellie, you were fortunate enough to win a lot because you had a great class with you. Stephen, we didn't win as much, but we still had fun. But I've told you many times you learn so much more from a loss than a win, so you were blessed with many more learning experiences than the girls. And Mary, unfortunately, I couldn't coach you as much as I would have wanted to because on October 23rd, 2011, we got news that devastated our family. You were diagnosed with leukemia. But where your sisters and your brother competed on the ball field and competed on the basketball court, you competed, and your battlefield was floor 7 of Mott's Children's Hospital. And what you did for the next 2.5 years, you were a shining light on that floor. I watched you. I talk to kids all the time about being the best teammate on their team. You were the best teammate on floor 7 of Mott's Children's Hospital. You helped so many other kids that were dealing with cancer. You helped their moms and their dads get through it. And the way you fought cancer with grace, determination, and most of all, your faith, it was an inspiration to me I'll never forget, and thousands others. I love you guys. Next, tonight, I want to share this with the entire Bullet Creek and Southtown community. I grew up and went to school at Bullet Creek. As I reflect back, I had awesome coaches, awesome teachers that mentored me and helped me along the way and were teaching me things all the time. And then when I grew up, I got to coach in Southtown, coach at Bullet Creek, and that community is like no other. They support you. They come out, they have your back, and I have such great memories of those years. Thank you. Next, I want to thank and share tonight with my Jefferson family. I student taught at Midland High School. My first 2 years of teaching were at Reed City High School. And then in 1989, I was fortunate to get a teaching job at Jefferson Middle School. And I remember after teaching for about a week, I came home and said to my wife, I said, what did I do? Because I had never taught middle school kids. And middle schoolers, their hormones are on steroids every day. But I grew to love it. And here 30 years later, I'm still at Jefferson. I've been fortunate to work in the last 30 years under 6 great principals that have supported me and supported student athletes. I had colleagues that supported me, mentored me, many former coaches, many coaches at the time that taught me so much. And I had 2 athletic directors in all those years that I worked for, Stu Rathman and Carlos McGee, who truly understand student athletes, supported me, told me it's not the worst thing in the world when you lose a game to Northeast, even though sometimes I thought it was. And they were truly there for me. I will say one little story about that. When I got hired at Jefferson, they said, oh, by the way, we have a girls' basketball job open, we have a baseball job open, and we have an assistant athletic director's job open. You interested? And I said, sure, I'll take them all. But I didn't know anything about being an athletic director. And Stu said, you have one job, and the only job you have to do is make sure the buses get ordered, and make sure that they're set up and the bus requests all go in. That's all you have to do. Well, we were about a month into my first year, and I went outside, and there were supposed to be 2 buses, one for the football team, one for the tennis team, and there was 1 bus. I said, oh, no, somebody must have screwed up. And I went down, and sure enough, I only ordered 1 bus. Well, my dad and Stu bailed me out that night. They drove the tennis team to Saginaw for the tennis match, and I still had a job the next day. But I will say, 2 jobs I found. Being an athletic director and being an official are 2 jobs that are only really recognized, and only people notice them when you do something wrong. I also want to share tonight with the Fast Break family. Started coaching Fast Break back in 2003 with John Church, and I started coaching. And we wanted an elite program for girls basketball in this area where we could go compete with the best teams in the state and the best teams in the Midwest. And Jamie understands this. When you coach a travel team, you better have great families. And I have been blessed with incredible families over the years that have truly supported what we want to do, and great kids, because even though you have 10 of the best players in the area, you still only have 1 basketball and only 5 can play at a time. So I had kids that truly checked their ego at the door, and they understood the whole team concept, and I have nothing but great memories of those Fast Break years. And I want to wrap it up tonight by saying whether or not you played for me, you coached with me, you coached against me, you reffed one of my games, you were a colleague of mine, you were a friend of mine, I thank you. Because all of you had such an important part of this journey with me. And for that, I am forever thank you. God bless you.
Next, Kay Melvin. Kay Melvin has officiated 12 state high school sport finals in baseball, softball, football, and basketball. Let that sink in for a moment. How many of us have actually attended 12 state finals? Kay was an 18-year official in Florida where he worked 2 Final Four baseball and softball competitions. Was that what you did after you retired, 18 years? A member of the Michigan Basketball Coaches Hall of Honor as an official in 1997. Kay was named official of high influence and character both on and off the field by the Beyond the Goalposts organization. He's logged 30 years officiating collegiate basketball in the GLIAC for the U of M and EMU. Melvin's GLIAC football crew was ranked number 1 4 years and second 3 years. He's umpired several area colleges in both baseball and softball, a 25-year member of the Midland Athletic Officials Association, where he also served on its board. Kay Melvin has taught officiating at Delta College in 4 sports, a clinician for the MHSAA and the GLIAC, founder of the Highlanders Officials Association, served a decade at Midland as the high school golf coach, where he has 8 Saginaw Valley League titles and 5-time state finalist. Indeed, Kay has coached 13 golfers who went on to work or play at the professional level. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kay Melvin. These are very tough steps.
Thank you. Thanks for the help, too.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Very nice. Humble. Who ever heard of an umpire or a referee being humble? If I walked out onto a football field, a ball diamond, or a basketball court, I'd be mincemeat. I better not have an attitude of humbleness. And that goes for the athletes as well. You better be there and get going when the ball is tossed up or the umpire says, play ball. But this is a little different. I'm not here to enforce the rules. I'm not here to make the playing field level. I'm not here to make sure that the best team on that occasion walks off a winner. My role has changed. Today, tonight, sorry. I can put on my cheaters. I use those in officiating as well. Okay, thank you. Tonight I am humble. I'm thankful, I'm proud, I'm pleased, and I'm also sorry. I'm very pleased that you saw fit to honor me. I'm thankful that so many people in this organization approved of my nomination. Most of my life, I've been very independent. You might even say quite a loner. Yet sports has been my savior. Nothing gives one a greater sense of well-being than stepping onto a court or onto a field and know that you're working with top-flight people. And that's what I found in the Midland area. I've been blessed. Do I know how lucky I am? I've spent much of my adult life in this community, and this community has provided me with probably all I needed to work out the best that I could be in the avocation that I chose. Midland's attitude is the best. If we got all the rest of the people along with that line of thinking, it would be even better. The community center, the Parks and Recreation Department, the ASA, the various foundations that have been established by the Dow family. What other community has the facilities to train young athletes, train officials to become the best that they can? I can think of no community other than some retirement communities down south that can measure up. Look at this edifice. I've never seen anything like it. This is my first visit here, and it's been 30 years since I've left. All of this has contributed to my passion for sports. And of course, it's done the same thing for you. Mother's Day, I think, is tomorrow. I have to say something about the little lady in my life. She left me about 6 months ago. I don't mean she walked out the door. I lost my wife. This little lady kept me in the cleanest uniforms, the best pressed outfits that you could think of. She took care of those late meals. She covered my constant absences. She also had a task of sewing on patches. 4 sets of uniform, how many patches? And also a few more for the college officiating that I did. She was a patient, tolerant, compassionate woman that loved sports almost as deeply as I did. I'm sure when the patch sewing came to an end, she was elated. Her praise was for Velcro. I want to thank a few people here tonight. Special thank you for the driving force for my induction, a guy by the name of Bob Ribble. Now, if you want to hear some war stories of our exploits on the basketball floor, he's got them, I've got them, and a couple of other people in the room have them as well. He's a great official. To my good friend and Pinewood buddy from junior college days, Jim Dreyer. Jim Dreyer, Jim, I still think I got slivers in my butt. I think he was responsible for having college coaches have a look at me. And it worked out just fine, other than my being a coward. I'll get to that a little later. Tom Hersey, coach at Midland High School for a good number of years. He was always in my corner. He was a gentleman that was responsible for my being inducted into the Hall of Honor for basketball officials. Bill Humphrey, one of the leading directors of ASA for a good number of years. He was responsible for my working 2 national tournaments, fast pitch, and a world tournament. He had me going all over the state working other tournaments. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to work the fast pitch nationals that he wanted me to work, simply because it came during working hours and my vocation wouldn't allow it. I don't know if you know Ron Stelter. He's a member of the Saginaw Hall of Fame. I would work any football game, any basketball game with Ron Stelter. I would caddy for Ron Stelter. This man could have gone the pro circuit, but chose to go into education. If I were addressing some aspiring officials, there were a couple things I would make sure I would tell them. We make mistakes, we have our regrets, but they're not major. We're usually pretty proud of the choices we make as individuals. But we usually have a greater number of regrets for the things that we didn't do. Do you know what a rim hugger is? A rim hugger is a person that goes to the Grand Canyon, buys a $5 hot dog, buys a $6 plastic cup of beer, walks to the barricade, looks at that great hole, and forever after says, "I've done the Grand Canyon thing." Doing the thing is much different. Take the better than mild trip down the canyon. Spend a night where it's extremely cold next to the Colorado River. Do high water rafting. And then in a dehydrating, suffocating jaunt, go up the trail to the top of the gorge. That's the sort of person that has done the Grand Canyon thing. All I can say, ladies and gentlemen, is thank you, thank you, thank you.
Next up, Jamie Smith. You're allowed, that's good. Let's run Jamie Smith's career by the numbers, shall we? Involved with softball in the area for 40 years. Played at Meridian in Central Michigan. 18 years as head coach at Meridian. Over 400 wins, 7 conference championships, 6 district championships, 2 regional championships, 2 MHSAA quarterfinal appearances, 1 state semifinal appearance, 10 years as coach at Bullock Creek, 1st district title, 1st regional appearance, and as coach of the Line Drive Express in 10 years, 15 tournament titles, 2 ASA state titles, 3 NSA state titles, 2 NSA National Championship Final Four appearances, and 1 NSA National Championship title in 2010. Currently, Jamie is coaching Meridian High, where what's your record now? 20-5 Mustangs. What was the score last night? And which of those games did you win? Right, exactly, both of them. And at the time of writing this, they were ranked 4th in the state. That's no longer true. You're 3rd in the state, right? All right, we get the breaking news out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jamie Smith.
Duct tape's not for me, right? I promised I wouldn't stay up here forever, but sometimes I do get off track. One thing I want to start off before I do forget, I want to thank Annie Merlette, my daughter Taylor, and one of my greatest players ever, Blake Garner, for putting together the information and nominating me for this year. It's very humbling. I'm very honored. Yet I'm in a position where I feel a little awkward. It's always, in the 40 years I've coached, been about my kids. And to come up here tonight and talk about myself, it's a little uncomfortable. So we'll try to get through this. I'm going to start off with my journey. Actually, first thing I would thank is my family, my mom, dad. Dad's sick tonight. He couldn't make it, which is a bummer. But my mom and dad have been with me through this whole thing. I want to thank my kids, my husband, for putting up with this addiction I have called softball. It's pretty much in me 24/7, 12 months out of the year, every day. Other than Christmas, that's probably what I'm thinking about is softball. My journey as a player started over 45 years ago, and I can remember my dad took me behind Bullet Creek High School, or elementary, to try out for a Little League team. And I can still remember that coach coming up to me and saying, well, what position do you want to play? Well, I had never played before, and I said, pitcher. And my dad said, you do? And I said, yeah, I want to be a pitcher. So that's how it started. As the years passed, I put on a lot of countless hours to try to perfect that with my dad, trying to figure out what I could do, and I figured out I was actually kind of good at it. As it got to the point where my dad figured he couldn't teach me anymore, I got blessed with one of my best friends in my life. He's here tonight, Dick Baker. He was my high school pitching coach, who stayed on me 2-3 days a week, taught me things to be able to do what I wanted to do, and that was to play softball collegiately. I reached that goal and got to play at Central Michigan for 4 years, which was a great honor. I had success in high school, receiving many awards. Was honored. We got to play in the MHSAA state finals my junior year, losing 1-0. That was a heartbreaker. I just know during those times, my mom and dad supported me the whole way. Back in those days, there wasn't quite as many travel teams as there are today. So that tells you how old I am. There was about 3 in the state of Michigan. And all I know is every Wednesday night, my dad would drive me to Grand Rapids after school so that I could practice with that team. Here it was 12 girls from all over the state of Michigan, and our sponsor had a big motorhome, and that's how we traveled all around the United States to play softball. As I got older, I was fortunate enough to keep softball in my life and playing a national in Alabama where we won a national title. My last journey as a player was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. At that time, I was a mom of a 3-year-old son and a 6-month-old little girl. But my husband said, let's go, you deserve to go. So we loaded up those 2 kids in our Blazer and drove all the way down there. I remember the minute my little girl would make a peep, my son would take a little miniature marshmallow and stick it in her mouth. And he did it all the way to Tennessee so that we could get down there. So that was so much fun. All I know was that was the most phenomenal week of my life as a player. I said to my husband, every pitch that came in there that I hit, I swear it looked like a watermelon. I just had the greatest week of my life as a player. At the end, I was awarded All-American, which was, again, what a great honor. I just remember when we got in the car, my husband, who had been supported the whole way, watched the kids the whole week through the rain, through being out there at midnight playing, said, my God, what a great week you had. And I remember saying to him, yep, I did, but I'm all done. And he couldn't believe that I just was going to stop. But I just said to him, at this point, I'm getting older, my body's busted up, I swore my arm was going to fall off. And I just knew I would never play that way again. So I decided, hey, let's go out on top. Then I said to myself on the way home, I remember thinking how much I loved softball and how was I going to keep it as part of my life. But back then I was a youth program director at West Midland Family Center, and I remember running summer camps, and I met a little girl by the name of Christy Forshey, who was a Bullet Creek kid. That little tomboy girl came every day with her ball glove and a baseball in her hand. And I just remember playing catch with her every day and thinking, this is so fun, being able to teach her things about the game. But again, like I said, she had a baseball in her glove. I just remember back then I had a jacked up old Camaro, and I took that little girl to my car one day, opened the trunk, took her baseball out of her glove, threw it in my trunk, put a softball in her glove, and said, go home and tell your dad that's what you're supposed to be playing. And her dad did call me that night. And as she grew up, she entered high school and became a great softball player. And I remember her mom coming up to me and saying there was an opening at Bullet Creek for the softball position and that I should go apply. I did apply for the job and end up receiving it and coached there for 10 years and had a great experience. That's when I really realized how much fun coaching really was. To be able to share your knowledge and pass it on to some of the greatest kids that are even here tonight that's just a dream come true for me. I'm like Mark. My passion is these kids and what you can teach them on and off the field. So as I started coaching, I decided that I knew quite a bit about the game, but one thing I was not comfortable at all was catching. So I said to myself, Jamie, you got to start finding some people that love this game as much as you do, that can help pass on the knowledge to these kids, but yet still has the same passion that you do for these kids. So I have been so honored in my years of coaching to be side by side with great people along the way, like Mike Gandy, my pitching coach, who is now my high school pitching coach for Sanford Meridian, Dick Baker. My favorite buddy in the whole world has been with me through Bullet Creek. He left me for a while and went and coached at Ferris. Came back, helped me at Meridian. He was at Northwood for a year. Chad Haberlin, I couldn't do any of this without you, bud. Other people like Tom Harmon, Bobby Hall. Without you guys, there's no way I would be standing here today. You have helped me to become the coach I am and have passed on the knowledge and everything that we could to these kids to make them the best they could. As far as at Bullet Creek, that little girl, Christy Forshey, and I took that team to, like we said, the first district title in their school history. After I left there, I thought I was going to take a break from coaching, and I got a call, like I think 2 days later from the Meridian AD and said, hey, we have a coaching position available. Are you interested? I thought, wow, I was going to take a break from this for a while, but then I said, I got this little girl who's going to be a Mustang, just like you were. So I decided to jump on board and take that, and for the last 19 seasons, I have stood in that coaching box at Sanford Meridian and loved every minute that I've been there. I've had the opportunity to coach some of the most fantastic women in my life that are just like my daughters. Some of my team, if my team is here tonight, can you guys stand up? What a great bunch of girls. I also have a lot of my former alumni. I know Blake Garner's here. I know Tori Smith's here. Even Carrie Stern back from the day at Bullet Creek. There's a lot of you guys here. I'm not sure if I've got everybody, but I want you guys to know how much I love you guys. You guys have always been special, special women to me. You're just one of the most special parts of my life. So I want to make sure I thank you guys for everything that you've done for me and to help me be the coach that I am today. I also had the great opportunity at Meridian to coach my daughter. And I would have to say that was one of the highlights of my career. She too is like her mom. She's 25 years old, but she loves this game just as much as I do. She comes back just like Blake and all those guys, Beth Stroop. And they always told the kids, make sure you come back and give back to the program. Those kids are there all the time. If I could give them a call and say, hey, I need help at practice. One day the best was when 8 of them pulled in without even letting me know they were coming. And within minutes, I threw together the most fantastic practice I'd ever had. And I could, again, not do that without my alumni. So I want to thank them for that. They went over all the accolades as far as winning. That's not me winning. That's those girls winning. They've put the blood, sweat, and tears into every minute they had to achieve the goals that we wanted together. And I've had, like I said, the most wonderful time coaching at Meridian in the last 19 years. And I know a lot of people always say, how much longer are you going to do this? And I guess my answer always is to it is, as long as I'm having fun and my girls don't hate me, I'm going to keep doing it. And so far, with the show up tonight, I know I still love the game. I'm still having fun, and I think they don't hate me. So that's great. The last thing was one of the most highlights in my career. Again, Line Driver Express. I'm the vice president of that group. Back when Taylor was a little girl, we started with 11 girls who all had the same dream. I actually went and picked 11 different kids that played shortstop from 11 different schools, but they all had the same goal, and that was to go somewhere, make that mark, be competitive, win, and let people know who you are. And they did do that. They went in and they won all those accolades that we talked about earlier. And out of the 11, 5 decided to go on and play. Most of them could have played collegiately. 5 decided to do so. But what a fantastic run. They had all those titles. They won 87-4 the first year. The second year, we won 10 consecutive titles and a national title. And that is, like Mark talked about, chemistry. They weren't the biggest kids. They weren't the fastest kids, but they were the smartest and they had the biggest hearts. And that's why they did the things that they did. Lastly, before I close, it's just, softball has just been such a big part of my life. I'm not sure where I would be without it. I hope that when I do decide to be done with coaching, that my legacy leaves people remembering me as a tough coach, because I am, but the tough coach that truly loved all her players and created a culture at Meridian of hard work, dedication, integrity, and passion for the game of softball. Thank you so much.
Next up, John Stern. John is known as the godfather of Bullock Creek Wrestling. You know it's serious when they call you the godfather. A coaching record at Bullock Creek of 207, 154, and 3. 4 state championships, 15 state place winners, 6 district and conference titles, 13 individuals who have over 100 career wins. Founder of the Kids Wrestling Program as an elementary feeder program for his high school team. John Stern's leadership extends far beyond the boundaries of wrestling, though. John has been a Homer Township Board of Trustees member for 24 years, president of the Midland County Farm Bureau, on the Bullock Creek School Board for 8 years, and an active member of the Midland Church of the Brethren. And it's worth noting that in his second year as head coach at Bullock Creek, he coached somebody named Tom to a 5th, well, it would be Tom Stern, wouldn't it? To a 5th place in the state, the first Lancer to place in the state meet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the godfather of Bullock Creek Wrestling, John Stern.
Finally up here. It's a real honor to be inducted into the Midland County Sports Hall of Fame. I'm especially thrilled that my brother Tom and I can share this induction together. We are joining an elite group of members in the Hall of Fame. There is no way that I could be standing up here if I hadn't had the tremendous support from groups involved in helping me. All through my coaching career, beginning with my lovely wife, Leslie. She was always there 100% of the time, through thick and thin. We were coaching several years before we had our kids, Carrie and Philip. They were born, and they grew up in wrestling, going to every match. Leslie had lots of help from parents and their kids at the matches. Phil and Carrie helped in a million different ways. Phil wrestled in kids' wrestling program in the middle school, high school, and helped coach while attending Delta. Carrie was my helper for many years through the middle school, high school, while attending Delta College. And she never missed practice or a match. She never missed anything going on. She always was there. She did a million different things and supporting the team. Our mother, Helen Stern, who is here tonight, did everything she could to make it possible that we were able to be involved in athletics. I remember her many times saying, "I know you can do it," always encouraging us. Our father, who had passed, would say, "You kids get your athletic ability from your mother, not me." Thank you, Mom, for all you've did for us. Mom, would you please stand up? And I'm sure Tommy will have something to say about his mommy, too. I've had the privilege of having top-notch assistant coaches each and every year. I won't mention names, but there were about 20 different coaches over the years, as well as many of the graduates that would come to practice and help out. We had a parents' wrestling club who were committed to helping us make Bullet Creek Wrestling a class act. I think we had close to 100% participation from the parents. We had a lot of support from the administration as well. We were either Class B or a Class C school, depending on the year and the student count. But we always had Class A student athletes. I have really enjoyed seeing that so many of my wrestlers have continued in the sport, coaching, and their children are involved in wrestling. I'm very thankful that I was involved. My family and I have received many wonderful experiences from all the people we have known through the sport. I am thankful that I was able to help others through the life lessons of wrestling. I appreciate being in knowledge. I appreciate my efforts, and thank you for this honor of the induction into the Midland County Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Next up, Tom Stern. Some would say Tom's fifth-place individual finish at the state tournament was his most significant. Certainly his brother might say that. Are you guys that competitive with everything? Do you ever, I'm getting nods from the table.
I still got a welt on my head from
He still has a welt on his. Tom parlayed his fifth-place individual finish into a 4-year Letterman career at Northern Michigan University, where he was a 3-time Division II national qualifier. Tom's coaching career began with positions in Ishpeming, Weyauwega, Vermont, and Fremont rather, and I got the Weyauwega, but I didn't get the Fremont. Why? Thank you. And Menominee Native American High in Wisconsin, then returned home to Michigan to assist his brother at Bullet Creek before heading for Hemlock and eventually Midland High in 1989. A 20-year career as head wrestling coach at Midland High School, 352 and 156 overall dual record as head coach. SVL Coach of the Year 3 times, State Regional Coach of the Year, 2005 through 9 SVL record of 42 and 7 and overall 122 and 32. 2 Saginaw Valley League championships, 4 state district championships, a state regional championship. Earned the only team trip to the state final 8 in Midland High's half century, and founder of the Thomas P. Stern Scholarship Fund for Wrestlers, awarded annually to a senior wrestler. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tom Stern.
Thank you. Got the right height?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, the first part of the speech my brother gave is the same part I've got. And we didn't even read each other's speeches. I would like to I would like to thank the Midland County Hall of Fame for being inducted. It's a very special occasion. Just like John said, me and him be able to do it together. Wrestled for him my senior year, coached with him for 5 years. It was a great experience. He meant a lot for me as the things that I did coaching, the integrity, the honesty of the kids, the hard work ethic. That's from my brother John. Another guy I got to talk about just a little bit, Mark Jungle. He's inducted today. Just so you know, he had a really big fib up here. When we're fishing and I'm catching fish, and his father-in-law can vouch for this. You're getting bites, the next thing you know, he has control of the motor, and you're facing the other way of the lake, and he's in your hole. But congratulations, Mark. He's a great friend. I was very fortunate also to have my little mother over there. Like John, we came up the hard way as far as we didn't have a lot of money. Worked our tails off to get ourselves through college. Mom and Dad didn't have that much money, but I'd be in college and there'd be a $20 bill sent to you. In encouragement, when I wrestled in college, her and Dad, 9 times out of 10, wherever I was at, they showed up to be there. And, you know, Ma, I love you. That's all I can say. I met my wife in 1975 up at Northern Michigan University. We were married in 1981. I was very fortunate. The wrestling program, she watched me wrestle in college. The family would pack up. We had kids. Heather and Becky was my daughters. Pack everybody up, and they never missed a tournament until I retired. My daughter Becky was my sidekick from 6 years old till 1993 or 94 to 2009 when I retired. Took all the stats. We got to walk around the top 8 in the state before we wrestled in the tournament. Me and Beck together. Were a lot of great memories. It was fantastic. I was also very fortunate. I had really good coaches in high school. Bill Greavy was a great influence on me. Track, cross country, and wrestling. He assisted my brother John my senior year as the assistant coach, and of course my brother John was really influential in my wrestling. 1975, when I graduated from high school, I did not go to college right off the bat. I took the semester off, and my brother Roy called me. He was a wrestler at Northern Michigan University, and he said, "Hey, Tommy, if you want to wrestle," he says, "they just got a new coach up here, and I'd like to have you come up and meet him." And I came up there at Christmas break, and his name was Bob Fears, first-year coach, and he happened to come from Pennsylvania. Coach, stand up real quick. I'm just telling you, he don't look very tough. But in the day, there ain't too many guys got could lock a load on that guy. I'm telling you, he was my wrestling experience up there was when I first started wrestling up there, I can literally say I never scored a point in a month and a half, unless they let me up. And one time, this one guy comes in he came into the wrestling room, and it's somebody I could finally beat, and I tell you what, game on. I got off the track a little bit here. My buddy. Another thing, Northern Michigan University. I wrestled with those guys from 75 to 80. I've got 10 of them here today. Stand up, fellas. Come on. The guy just sitting down was a 126 pounder, by the way. Had to throw that in, buddy. I worked with the team through 1975, and from 1975 to 1980, I was part of the Northern Michigan University varsity wrestling team. At Northern, I made lifelong friends, and like I said, they're here today, standing by my side. I really appreciate that. Started coaching in 1980 at Westwood High School, where I student taught at. 1981 was my first teaching job at Wyomega, like we already said. I knew that was going to be a one-year position. There wasn't any jobs opening in Michigan when I graduated in the industrial arts field. So I went to Wisconsin, and then from Wisconsin, the superintendent knew the superintendent at the Menominee Indian Reservation. That's how I got there. And there I started a wrestling program, a middle school program, and a varsity program. And I was there for 2 years, and then the call came that there was an opening at Bullet Creek, and it was a chance for me to move home. And so that's what I did. And then when I was at Bullet Creek, 5 years later, the budget cuts, and I was going to get pink slipped, and an opening came over at Hemlock High School, and I went over there, and then 2 years later, I was pink slipped again. So now I'm jobless again, which has had a quite the gig there for a while as far as trying to keep jobs. Then I coached 5 years with my brother John, and then I went to Hemlock and coached 1 year there. Like I said, I got pink slipped. Then I happened to be in a gas station one night, and Bill Aldemore from Dow High was there, and he says, "You know, Tommy, Ron Saller from Midland High retired, and there's a wrestling position open at Midland High." So I applied for that position, but there wasn't a teaching job. So I went and talked to a lady in Human Resources, and she said, "If you want to stay in education, Tom, you better get a special education degree." So I went and got a special education degree, but Midland High would not hire me under an endorsement, but Bullet Creek would. And in industrial arts, they had positions come open, but you had to have a 3-point, and imagine that, I didn't have one out of college. So I had to go back to school, and by the time I went through my special education degree, I got my grade point to a 3. So I coached there for 7 years, and it took me 7 years to get above a 3-point. So, bottom line, in 1996, Bud Lowry, Bud, it's here somewhere, best movie ever made, he hired me. And my mentor is Stu Rathman, best mentor I ever could have had. That's why I am the way I am. So after, here we go here. By the way, I missed this, I got to tell you. Steve Marsh hired me, and he was a great guy. He's my right-hand man. He really helped me try to get Midland High wrestling successful. And if it wasn't for his help, he gave me a wrestling room. He went out of his way to get wrestling going, and that was a really big boost in the program at Midland High. When I started there, we did not have freshman wrestlers, so that was tough because you have lightweights, and lightweights are like 98 pounders, 105 pounders, and when you're a sophomore, a lot of kids are already past that stage. But we finally got the freshmen in the program, and that was a big difference. We went from 25 kids to about 55 to 60 kids for a long time. I'm like everybody else that was up here. I was the engineer of the crane, but I had an awful lot of people helping me. Had an awful lot of volunteers and assistant coaches. That scholarship that you talked about, that's in my name, was from a volunteer, Greg Dixon, and that gives $1,000 to a wrestler that wrestles through Midland High for 4 years and under my name, and that was really nice. Don Starron, I don't think is here. He was a volunteer for a long time. I got to mention my assistant coaches. I had Tom Marquis for a long time, who was a retired Midland High teacher, Tommy Rajeski, Eddie Chase, Matt Alexander. At the middle school levels, Timmy Kiffmiller and Carl Hoffman played a great role in getting middle school kids involved in the program. Without having a feeder program, it don't matter how good a coach you are, you're spinning your wheels. Throughout my coaching career, though, I tried to treat everyone on the family fairly. And I really do mean that. My wrestlers knew that it didn't matter if you were 100 or 0 or 0 and 100. Everyone on the team was treated the same respect and given the same opportunities. To me, coaching wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about building relationship, character, preparing kids for the future, and having fun. But don't get me wrong. I wanted to win, but I always wanted to win the right way. Wrestling to me, because that's what I did my whole life. I retired in 2009. Started when my brother John started wrestling, and I don't know what date in the 60s. And went all the way through with my brother Roy, and then wrestled in college myself. It's the greatest sport. I enjoyed working with kids. As you can tell, I'm pretty much a screwball, but I'm a tough screwball when I have to be. I would get more pleasure seeing a JV kid win a match for the first time, or a kid placing in state. I was what you call a kid's coach. I had 20 great years coaching at Midland. Some of the highlights of those was including, I had a first state champion in 1992, Aaron Anderson. I got one of my buddies here today, Jake Hard. Raise your hand, Jake. Jake took 7th for me. One of my highlights, as far as getting your hind end kicked and then coming back and do what you got to do. We wrestled Davis in the regionals in 2008. It was at Saginaw Valley, and I know the coach real well, and they have really good teams. And we're a good quality team, but they are, it's like Mark said, that Portage team was one of those things. And he even moved kids around to try to make better matches, and we lost every match but one. And the one that we won, we were down 10-0, and we caught the kid in the headlock and won. So, pretty much got tooled. So, in 2009, we met Davison again, and we beat him. And then we wrestled Escanaba in the finals, and we beat those guys, and we qualified for the first time as the top 8 in the state. And like I said, me and Beck walked around the thing together, and it was great. I'm like a lot of you guys that I'm not real good at. I'd rather talk about other people than myself. But we did win four district champions. We had 2 Saginaw Valley League champions. I was named Coach of the Year 3 times and Regional Coach of the Year. Great honors, but all those honors came from people helping me. It wasn't me. They're all great memories, but the greatest part about coaching was how many wrestlers and their families became part of our family. When my little girl, Heather, was at her first match when she was 1 week old, parents, it was a family affair. And throughout my teaching and coaching career, I faced a lot of adversity, as you can tell, different jobs. I was at 6 different schools before I finally landed at Jefferson and Midland High. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Again, guys, thank you very much. This is a real honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about another round of applause for our 2018 inductees? Our thanks to the writers at the Midland Daily News for providing the anecdotes for this evening's nominations. I want to remind you that once again, this ceremony will be broadcast on MCTV. And for those of you who aren't in the area, it will be available online on MCTV's website on demand. So you might want to check that in a couple of weeks, give them a couple of weeks to put all that together. At the close of tonight's program, I'd like to ask that all of our 2018 inductees please return to this stage area for pictures. Your cooperation will make that a speedy process. So if you could please make your way back up here after the announcements are all concluded. I want to let you know that the Midland County Sports Hall of Fame Amateur Sports Capital Committee works year-round. You only see maybe this evening of their work, but they do work year-round. If you'd like to volunteer or if you would like to make a contribution, you will find more information at mascc.org, or you can grab any one of the committee members and they'd be happy to tell you how you can get involved in their efforts. Likewise, if you know someone in Midland County who has made a significant contribution to sports or has an outstanding achievement in the realm of sports and you feel is deserving of induction, please consider nominating them for the Hall of Fame. You'll find that information at mascc.org, or again, talk with one of the committee members. They'd be more than happy to let you know how you can do that. A reminder to all of you that the Midland County Sports Hall of Fame is located right underneath this stage, downstairs on the concourse level here at Dow Diamond. It's open tonight for viewing, and I believe pictures of this year's class are already up. So you might want to go get the very final of the pictures of tonight's evening downstairs on the concourse level. You're encouraged to head downstairs or take the elevator to level 2 and spend some time reminiscing in the Hall of Fame gallery. It's a great place. It's a unique place. And we here at Dow Diamond are just pleased as punch to have that as part of our building here at Dow Diamond. So you can make your way down. The elevator is unlocked to help you exit on level 2 to look at the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame gallery. A reminder that Monday, May 13th, your Great Lakes Loons return to Dow Diamond for a 6:05 first pitch with the Dayton Dragons. That's how I pay for being up here. Great seats are still available at 837-BALL or at loons.com. Thank you so much. If you'd like to nominate someone or be involved with a committee, please see a committee member tonight. Thank you very much, folks. Congratulations to the class of 2018, and thank you for having me tonight. Good evening.